Hello there and welcome back to Four Times in a Podcast. You join us at the very strange time of 9:30 on a Saturday night. It's very rare that we would record at this time, but since me and Tony were on the other day, there's been plenty happening in the land of Celtic. I think chronologically we signed Kelechi Iheanacho the following day. Maybe wouldn't have warranted an episode on its own, but then later in the week, I'm trying to think how this worked. Friday, Daisen Maeda was reported in Japanese media as saying that he had been very keen to leave Celtic this summer, and he had told the club from before the end of last season, and he was asking the club to leave right up until deadline day. He said he had a deal agreed with another team. He wouldn't say who the team was, but said that everything was pretty much agreed, and the only reason it didn't happen was that Celtic were unable to get recruits in. So we had that discussed, and we thought, right, that's got to be it. We'll maybe get back together, discuss them. Then Saturday morning, an unknown insider who apparently works for Celtic or is very high up in Celtic went to that reputable newspaper that is so well respected, the Scottish Sun. They went to Roger Hannah and done an interview with him, saying that the reason that the summer was such a failure was the fact that Brendan Rodgers was tearing the club apart and asking too many questions as such, and pretty much sabotaging the transfer window in order to work his own way out of Celtic. And we thought, there you go there, we'll definitely get together on Saturday to record that. And then just as we were going to record, about 9:15 on a Saturday night, Celtic sneaked out a statement, very lengthy statement, and I'm sure we'll speak about it, and a lot of us will have parts of it we want to pull out and analyse, but I'll surmise it was a statement telling supporters that they're stupid and don't understand what's going on, and so get back in your box and see if you can get your home cup scheme put back on by the ticket office before we rinse you for Europa League money. But so that's four pretty big events. So the four of us are back, of course, to discuss it. As we say, we wouldn't usually get together on a Saturday night, but felt it was sort of needs must. We've been sort of on the ball in terms of following this as it's been on throughout the autumn, so we'll get together and react to this pretty much in live time. Tony, I'll come at you. I'll give you a dealer's choice. You can choose which one of the topics you want to discuss first. I know they'll probably have angered you or got strong emotions out of you for a number of reasons, but I'll let you go for what you want.
Spoiled for choice. I'll need to go for the statement. I think that's what everybody will be talking about. I think everything seems a wee bit lesser compared to that, even though there has been big news. Sorry, I was ready to just start dissecting each one, but I would genuinely probably ramble and rant and rave for half an hour. The statement is a disgrace. It's been pointed out. It's not actually signed by anybody, so nobody's had the balls to say, this is for me. Of course, we've got a CEO who is jumping through hoops not to talk to us. I think I could actually take the statement from start to finish and rip every part of it to bits. And I might just do that, actually, because it deserves that. So, first off, they've had constructive meetings with the Celtic Supporters Association, the affiliation of registered Celtic supporters clubs, and the Association of Irish Celtic Supporters Clubs. And that's great that they had meetings with these people, and these people obviously represent a lot of fans, and I think it's great that they've managed to speak to the club, and that's me being genuine. But what about all the other supporters who are not affiliated with these groups? Why are they meeting the club? Why is Michael Nicholson not doing an interview and explaining this transfer window? Why is he only selecting groups that he obviously has a relationship with? So right away, I think that's disrespectful to the rest of the support. I think Michael Nicholson should have directly spoke to everybody. But again, as I've said in about the last 7 podcasts, these people despise the fans, and by fuck, does this statement prove it? The club takes Celtic supporters' views extremely seriously. No, they don't, because in this statement, they never once say, we're sorry. We're sorry for the countless Champions League failings that we have overseen as a board. We're sorry we haven't strengthened in time. We're sorry we've made so many mistakes. Not once in this statement, unless I've misread it, does it say we apologise for once again letting the fans of this club down and enduring an embarrassing exit from the Champions League. There's no apology in there. So they don't take anything we say seriously. They want us to shut up and give them our money, as I've already stated about 15 fucking times. Achieving success in the field of play underpins everything we do. That cannot be correct because they have not adequately strengthened the squad, and they sold Adam Ida, who about 5 minutes ago just scored a very important goal for the Republic of Ireland. I thought that was quite amusing, as Danny says on our chat, when it rains it pours. So I don't believe that. Achieving success on the field of play underpins everything we do. I don't think that's correct in any way, shape or form. Or they would have adequately backed a manager, replaced Kyogo, replaced Kuhn, replaced Ida, etc., etc. So that's just a nonsense. And then this is a great one. Transfer activity attracts enormous attention and speculation, particularly across social media, and the mainstream media has commoditised the transfer window in its relentless search for content. In connection with Celtic, we recognise that debate around this subject reflects the passion of our supporters. Unfortunately, as is often the case in the media and social media, there's an inaccurate or misleading information in circulation. So basically, the mainstream media, who they know most Celtic fans despise, they're just making stories up about it. So anything that's been in the mainstream media about us that's bad, just ignore that. No doubt the mainstream media talk absolute pish. For example, Stephen McCowan was out on a podcast recently, I think it was PLZ, and he says that protest would be futile. That is not correct, and protest can absolutely drive change, irrespective of the fact Dermot Desmond doesn't give a flying fuck. The more you hit them in the pocket, the more they'll need to change things. And I'll come back to Dermot once I review this absolute shite that's been put out. Funnily enough, they talk about their Irish fans. They put it out during Ireland playing a very important qualifier. So there's a load of Celtic fans who are Irish who would have been watching the game and probably missed the statement. I wonder if that's part of the plan. Let's see, what else have we got? We're disappointed this season not to compete in the Champions League, but we are determined to succeed both domestically and in Europe. So nobody said, I'm sorry, this is your fault, this is really, really poor, just, well, didn't make it, disappointed, fuck up. I mean, we were put out by a club for Kazakhstan who are ranked about 300th. I mean, it's not just a Champions League exit, it was a humiliation. But again, they don't really address that because what can they say? Sorry, we're absolutely fucking useless to a man and woman on this board, from the CEO to the chairman. We haven't a bastard clue. Obviously, if they put that out, I would maybe give the statement a thumbs up. Let's see, where else have we got? There's some right crackers in here. Oh yes, here we go. This is the big one. This is the big Sevco joke put in the middle of a fucking statement. Therefore, obviously they go on to talk about how we're kind of hampered by UEFA sustainability regulations. I think John McGinley, to give him credit, has already debunked this. So that's bullshit. So that's been already totally debunked as nonsense from them. So they're trying to use excuses that don't wash. But this is a cracker. In short, throwing money at transfers and contract is not a sustainable route to success, as many other clubs have found, to the detriment of their supporters. Now, they would as well have just used that paragraph and went, Rangers died, Celtic survived, hail, hail, keep the faith. I mean, in what planet? That's how stupid they think the fans are, that they're going to go, a wee dig at Rangers, that'll do me. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, what has that got to do with Celtic not backing their manager, not getting a striker in? Nobody's saying throw all your money at transfers and contracts and go bust. I mean, this is the kind of things you read for mad rambling fans, not for the actual club. Nobody has once says, we want you to go to the wire and spend all the money. It's about investing adequately, which they haven't done. I mean, that part is just an absolute disgrace. Absolutely disgraceful to be trying to have a dig at fans of other clubs that have got into financial trouble. Not relevant to Celtic whatsoever. Just outrageous, really. This is another cracker. I mean, it's a statement of absolute garbage, this man. Who wrote this? That's the thing. They just put their name to it. And to be honest, if I wrote it, I wouldn't put my fucking name to it either. The club plans a recruitment and player trading strategy responsibly and consistently, ensuring the squad can be strengthened for the short, medium and long term, while also seeking to ensure the development and progression of our academy players. Here it comes. Our objective is to create Champions League players. What fucking Champions League players? I think since we've had, how many homegrown have played in the Champions League and actually been good players? I guess Tierney is a good player, Champions League quality. McGregor's done okay. Forrest has scored a few goals in there. Ralston laughed at Neymar, I suppose, if you want to throw him in there as a kind of Champions League player. But holy fuck, our objective is to create Champions League players. I mean, This is an insult to the intelligence of the Celtic support, and I hope every fan can see this for what it is. It is a total insult. I mean, I've said that these people are arrogant and they despise the fans. I mean, this is off the scale arrogance of, you don't know what you're talking about. Stop questioning us. Rangers died, and can you give us more money? Thank you. Holy fuck. There's another crowd where it's just full of kind of unbelievable nonsense here. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets removed, to be honest. Let's have a look. Oh yes, sorry, we blame we blame other clubs as well. Successful transfers can only be negotiated privately. It would be impossible to secure players if every stage were conducted in public. From time to time, other parties may also seek to create pressure by leaking information to the media. The club's position is clear. Transfer business will remain confidential until agreements are concluded and announced by the club. So now it's other clubs' fault that we're not getting deals done. So you have to ignore the media, you have to ignore it, and any other clubs say Rangers died. Remember that's one of the key points of this statement. And basically we've got a clear position and we're not be leaking anything, even though somebody in the club is leaking stories to the Sun. Just to quickly add in that, when we met Dominic Mackay 4 years ago, one of the questions I asked him was about communication and the club stopping the leaking of stories to the Sun. Obviously that's not been addressed, and I can see quite a lot of comments online, the Sun said it must be true. Yeah, good chance it is, because that is the Celtic's go-to paper. So much as you might hate the Sun, not want to read it, if the Sun are saying it, there's a good chance there's some truth in it, I'm afraid. Let's see, what other shite have they said in here? There was something somebody sent me as well. It was something that basically, I want to get it precise so that I've not misread any of this. I've got it in front of me. We will also always listen to our supporters who have the club's interests at heart. Oh, thanks very much. And how we can continue to develop the club within these parameters. So that Green Brigade statement has been signed by countless different fan groups related to Celtic. I don't think they've actually addressed that. So, yep, we use have the club's best interests at heart, and we always listen to you, but we're not going to address that because there's quite a lot of people that signed it that we think are assholes, so we'll be giving that a miss. This is an unbelievable statement. It's incredible that it's not signed by the CEO. Surely the CEO's got to sign off, but nobody's bothered to sign off on it. Where's the bit? There was a bit that basically says sometimes we just can't sign players, which is a pretty incredible thing to say. Obviously, they talk themselves up and how good they've been, and like everybody, every supporter, we're ambitious for Celtic. Bullshit, that's not true, or you would have backed your manager. Our clear goal is to secure new signings as early in each transfer window as possible, so that players can integrate quickly and contribute from the outset of the season. Balak Wisa signed with days to go. Taneke signed with the last day. Kelechi Iheanacho signed after the window shut, or a free contract. Our clear goal is to secure new signings as early in each transfer window. Well, would that not tell you you're not very good at your job and you should maybe resign because you don't get anything done early? The same as last year as well, when you signed Engels, Trusty and Ida on the last day. So again, I mean, who the fuck? What is this absolute nonsense, man? It's like a wind-up. It's like somebody's went, we'll fucking noise these cunts up a bit more and release this absolute madness. Unfortunately, it's not always possible to conclude transfers either within the timescales that we target or at all. I mean, that's not good enough. Obviously there's going to be some that you can't get done, but he didn't seem to get any done. Like the manager says he would like 2 strikers if Ida goes. And then on the Monday you sell Ida, you don't have the replacement, and then you bring in a free agent, and no harm to him. Just to clarify, we absolutely back Kelechi Iheanacho and wish him all the best. But this is just such an insult to everybody involved. And you know what, I'm finished reading this. It's just absolute nonsense. I mean, the best part, we hope this statement provides clarity about our transfer policy and reassurance of our unwavering dedication to Celtic's short, medium and long-term access. Go and take a flying fuck to yourselves. Resign immediately. Desmond, stop playing golf. Again, another deliberate wind-up that Desmond probably phoned the most famous golfer in the world and says, look, Rory, Celtic fans are going off their head. Me and you'll go out for a round. Make sure we get snapped in the paper. I'll have a show of strength to say, this is how much I care about you and your transfer window. I don't give a fuck. I'm no selling. Get it up, ease. Yeah, Just this statement provided nothing. It provided clarity that the board and the people who wrote this statement are extremely arrogant. It provided clarity that they despise the fans. It also provided clarity they think the fans are thick as shite. And it provided clarity that they haven't a fucking clue what they're doing when it comes to transfers, communication. I think they said something about infrastructure as well. The stadium's a mess. That needs major investment, but that's not been done either. They can't even give the fucking thing a lick of paint inside. So, in whole, I don't think it was a very good statement.
I didn't quite get that from your messenger, Tony, but I know you're right. I think it's just a fucking shambles from the outset. As you say, it starts talking about the constructive meetings with the groups that they met with. Fair enough, that's great for the groups, they get their access, whatever, but what questions are these people asking? You're put in a position where a lot of these groups are probably feared that they'll lose their ticket access or they'll get a reduced allocation if they step out of line too much, and obviously they're representing a load of supporters. And why no senior figure from Celtic has been on Celtic TV or whatever, even Sky Sports News or something? I know there was rumours of that during the week and it turned out to be rubbish. Why our cowardly CEO, who maybe he's just a big shy guy, big shy Michael, who has been hiding, it feels like he's just been nowhere near. And like most Celtic fans don't know who he is, don't know what he sounds like. We could probably pass him in the street and wouldn't know who he is. And then, as you say, Disney put his name to this statement, no saying it's came from him, but surely he's had a sign off on it. He says that he takes supporters' views extremely seriously, complete utter horseshit. They don't, it's just so clear that they don't give a shit about the supporters or the views. They had that stupid fan survey about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Nothing's ever came from it. As you said, there's been a big massive statement from supporters group, podcasters, YouTubers, and a load of other sort of groups related to Celtic. They're not going to address that. The fact that they say that the strategy is just for success on the field and it underpins everything they do. It's just the transfer activity, everything in it. Like, you've covered a lot of it, Tony, but to say that they recognise that the debate around it reflects the passion of your supporters, and it's like you say, they're saying, by the way, anything that you read that's negative about us pretty much is either inaccurate or misleading. And what does that mean? They try to say that the Hammerby chairman wasn't out saying that you are idiots, the Go Ahead Eagles chairman wasn't out saying that we were laughing at them, they were ridiculous, that Plymouth weren't out saying that we wanted Stephen Welsh but Celtic just held us waiting on too long. Is Benjamin Siegrist a liar? Is Yang a liar? Is Daizen Maeda a liar? Is it just everybody's lying apart from you? Like, the fact that everybody's saying that yous are the common denominator and being terrible at transfers and transfer activity. The Champions League stuff, just an absolute myth to fucking pull that shit about financial fair play when it's so clear that Celtic are so far from it. Nobody's fucking saying you spend 40 million before you've sold anybody. That's what we want to happen every summer. That's not what we want. We were in a position this summer before that qualifier where we had sold or received like sell-on fees that probably totaled about 25 million quid, and we were fucking shrimping about getting 1.5 million pound signings in from Sweden and Japan, and it's like they were bargain hunting, and I might have spent a bit of money in the last few days of the window, but Celtic fans aren't asking for it. And like, I know it's on a grander scale, but a team like Bruges should be who we aspire to be, where you sell 70 to 80 million worth of players and you bring in 30 to 40 million. We are just trying to maximise profit and minimise spend, and for them to say that they're aligned with the supporters and what they want is a complete and utter joke. Of the Champions League qualifiers, I believe the last 8 opponents we've faced in qualifiers, we've had a much bigger income and turnover and transfer spend, etc. And yet the last 5 times that we've been involved in Champions League qualifiers, we've failed to make it. Nobody's asking you to break the bank and go to the wall. I'm not even going to address that sort of Sevco Rangers statement. I says it's you. I think it's just a stupidity test that they're trying to see who they can palm off with that. As they say, Tony had a laugh saying what they're saying about what they want to bring through the academy. They want to bring Champions League players through. Well, I'm sure teams like Albion Rovers and Queen's Park want to bring Champions League players through as well, but it's clearly not happening. It's been about 10 years since we brought anybody into the first team who's actually made a real impact, and if you can see that's the case, then why is nobody in the academy being sacked or it's been overhauled? We just keep the same people in place, and there's Charlie McGrew, there's Darren O'Day, there's Johnny Hayes, there's Sean Maloney. We'll just get people who have been in the club before. Like, we should be going the length and breadth for the world to get the highest calibre of coaches and staff into them, and I just think that's another talk for another day. But the statement's just beyond me how bad it is, and they try to blame everybody but themselves. They try and tell you that you're stupid and that you don't understand it, and so just get on with it and stop asking us questions. This will be the last you hear from it, by the way. I'm pretty sure that they'll just go radio silence now. You'll not get any interviews in the TV. You'll not get any Celtic TV interviews with these people to elaborate. You'll not see fan media or whoever invited to talk about this anymore. It's a complete sort of just looking to palm it off and hope that this sort of passes. And as you say, there's a lot of, they mentioned Celtic's Irish fans in this, and they posted it out well. A lot of them would have been at the game or watching the game. They also posted it well. A lot of people would have maybe been at the Celtic musical today as well. One of our pals was telling us about some sack the board chants at that as well. So I think the feeling's very much grown within the support that now is a sort of sliding doors moment for the club in terms of us sort of as a club and support uniting to sort of modernise the club and remove people who are holding us back. Danny, I'll bring you in. We'll keep on the statement now and then we'll move to the other topics, but what was your sort of thoughts on it? I thought it was flabbergasting how bad it was.
I don't think anybody's got a positive opinion of the statement. When you release a statement at 9:15 on a Saturday night, it's never good news, is it? I thought Rodgers was away when I read the Sun's article this morning, and then the night I thought, God, they've got him. But I think it's over 1,000 words long, and it doesn't really say anything. There's nothing new there. It's just excuse after excuse after excuse. Not even excuse, just deflection, and the thing that reads, if you read between the lines, it's just the utter contempt that they've got for the Celtic support. I think I said it before we went on, but they treat us like it's 1990 and, FITBA's this closed shop that nobody really knows what's going on, and people get their news by buying the paper or going on teletext and waiting in the pages updating. And they're here to show us actually what's going on. But, in the day's world, right, there's no much, with social media and whatever, there's no much that people don't know about the football world anymore. You've got players and their agents tweeting this Italian journalist who gets them a transfer almost every single window. You've got chairman and, chief execs going on Sky Sports News and talking you through transfers. You're getting, I think, clubs are putting up video. I think Sheffield United done it a few years ago where they put a video up with a deadline day activity, and it was like Chris Wilder and the managing director, and how you're listening to them on the phone to other clubs bidding for players. You're seeing what goes into a medical and that. So there's no much in the football world now that is a closed shop. Yet Celtic's board seem to be determined that the Celtic fans think this is how football operates and that there's no transparency in the game, and they're here to show us that what's actually happening. They're lifting the veil up and giving us a peek behind the scenes, and actually it's not their fault, it's everybody else's. The statement is just a lot of words to say nothing except we're right, you're wrong, that's how it'll continue to be. It's just like the transfers, the stuff they go on about UEFA, and basically it's not an option, it's inevitable. Well, you're running a business. It's inevitable for every business to be profitable, or the business goes under. We fucking well done. You've read the first page of fucking economics fucking book, and then going on about UEFA sanctions, and basically the club's cash reserves are not relevant to the assessment of this de facto spending cap. Well, what's the money doing in the bank? Then give it back to the fans who put it in there. If you're not going to do anything with it, because the infrastructure at the club's on its arse, the stadium's not looking great. They're clearly not. They're not intent to spending any money. So what's the money doing there? Why is it sitting there? It's no doing anything for the club. The fans are like, you three have got season tickets. You put that money in there. Nothing's happening with it. It's just sitting there. And apparently we're not allowed to spend it now because UEFA are going to come in and audit us any time we make a transfer. Just to treat the fans like this utter contempt. And there's been a theme for the last couple of years about this. When fans have piped up about this, folks say, do you know what? Just give your ticket up. But we've had it in the comments. Give your ticket up because there'll be 10 folk waiting to take it off you. To treat your current customers like that. And the club are happy for this because they've probably got the same mentality as these people. To treat your customers like that, it's just fucking insane. And it wouldn't wash in any other like sector or industry or business. It would just not wash, but somehow in football everybody seems to, and most Celtic fans just want to go to the games, and people buy the tickets, they know, and they take it for granted, and because the Celtic fans will deliver. But to be actively just gallus with that, showing the fans like, well, you've gave us your money, what you kind of moaning about. It's really bad, and it just shows how far out of touch that this current board is with reality. And FitBA seems to have moved on. Inflation's hitting the Celtic supporters, but Celtic board are still trying to bid 1.5, 2 million for players and sell them for a massive profit. Inflation's not infected them, but it's affected the fans, and the season tickets are going up. And it's just the contempt that they have got for the fans. It's unhealthy. It's clearly led to what we've seen in the summer. There's, the Celtic board's really turning around and saying, we did everything we could. Because it seems to me that they've did fuck all for a summer except embarrass themselves. Every time they've tried to go sign a player. Now, you're never going to get a player with your first bid, right? There's always going to be a negotiation. But every single time we read about Celtic's interest in a player is because we've probably bid about 33 to 40% of what they're looking for the player. And it's like, here we go again. Club wants 4 million, Celtic will bid 1.5 with an add-on. And then the thing about the media, Celtic have obviously used the media this morning to brief against the manager. Talking about transfers, it's very good because we've known, with all the players that we've sold over the years, we've known the magic figure that was going to take the player away from us long before any bids came in. I mean, we knew we were holding out for 25 million for Tierney. We knew we were holding out for the same money for Jota. We knew about 30 would get you O'Reilly last year before all this happened. And yet, now they're telling us, we keep our mouth shut when it comes to transfers. I'm trying to think of the one that's annoyed me. But just, as you said earlier, Dan, like the clubs that are coming out and criticising Celtic will probably be blacklisted when it comes to transfers from teams around Europe. I mean, is this why we're trying to exploit the Japanese market more often now? I mean, I know Ange used it to great success, but we've kept going back to the Asian market and the Japanese market. Now loaned a player for South America. Are we trying to exploit these markets now? Because Europe, clearly we're cared smart when it comes to Europe. And, there's no fix for that. You need to overpay for years and undersell for years because clubs don't trust you. Or you need to get a new board in to kind of reset the reputation. It's just bizarre. They would have been as well saying nothing. And listen, these things don't normally get signed off like on the thing. It would have been signed up by the board. It would have been written by the comms team. It's just words to appear to say something, but it really doesn't say it other than we are right the whole time. You are wrong again. Please stop moaning. Turn up and support the team. Don't question us ever again because you don't really know what it's like. And it's just such an arrogance, and it's a shame that the club are treating the fans like this because we've seen in the last couple of days a real unity for the fans. Darren, as you said, nobody's wanting us to go out and spend 80 million every summer and, bankrupt ourselves. Nobody's wanting us to go out and, push, every single summer, spend tons of money, don't bring any in. All the fans have wanted is to at least, maybe it doesn't happen, but you want to at least have a feeling that the club are out there doing everything they can to actually move us on to the next level. I keep hearing things like Celtic have had a glass ceiling, Bayern Munich, that was as good as it be. You put that team that played against Bayern Munich, if you put 3 good players in that team, we knew we'd need a left back, definitely needed a centre half and a centre forward. You put they 3 into that team, who's to say we're not taking many of the chances that we created against Bayern? Who's to say we're not knocking these teams out? Obviously you're a million miles away from winning the Champions League, but the idea you might go to the quarter-finals, you might put a big team out. And if the Celtic board are really telling us they've did everything, then that's an admission of guilt that they're not good at what they do and they should go. And to come out and say protest is futile, why should the Celtic fans just sit there and watch? And they turn. This is the same every single summer. It looks like this year they've bumbled away through the whole summer, and then they've got to the last day and then thought, right, for who's available. And I think we must have bid for about 12 players on Monday. There's names coming out that there'll be names coming out in weeks and months ahead that we've not had. that Raksaki boy for Crystal Palace, he was all the rage on the Sunday night and the Monday morning, and you heard nothing for Fana. I know he went to Charlton, and that was about. He didn't go to Charlton, he preferred Charlton. That was already. He clearly just wanted to stay in London, but that was already. And then there was a Greek boy for Brighton that was rumoured late on, and then you end up signing Iheanacho, who, God willing, he turns it on because we're going to need it. But if the board are coming out saying they did all they can done, it's either a barefaced lie, which is bad enough, or it's an admission of guilt that, yeah, we are fucking terrible at what we are supposed to be good at. And it's a very outdated model. They can dress it up any way they want and tell us that, the club is doing what it can to be sustainable for the future. But, success breeds success. And as Tony said, look at Bruges. Bruges haven't been spending 40 million and bringing in 70 million every summer. I'd imagine 15, 20 years ago, they'd have been bidding 2-3 million for players and then selling them on for big profits. But there comes a point where you need to take the next step. And, look at, in recent years, right, we've dished the money out, right? Ida and Engels, obviously, Ida, in my opinion, paid for himself when he scored the win in the cup final against Rangers. He scored a couple of big goals in the Champions League, which brought me a money into the club. Ida probably owes us nothing. Engels, we're still to see him actually, I don't think we'll make a loss on Engels if we were to sell him. I think, a young Belgian midfielder with his profile probably at least get our money back. We'll probably even make a profit on Engels. Whether he, unless it got really, really bad over the next couple of months and years. But, Carter Vickers, Jota, Edward, you push your boat out, you get success. And yet they seem to only really, it seems to be a loss for them to, or, a kind of low point for them to do it once or twice, when that should be the norm. Like we said this last year, I remember the four of us having this conversation last year, when we signed Engels and we signed Trusty and he said, this has got to be the level every year. Aye, fair enough, give the board their due, they've done a bit of business late on. And we went out and beat Rangers 3-0 the next day, or the Sunday. So fans we're all happy because we've just hammered them, and it looks like the league was practically done at that point because they were rubbish, we were great, we'd started the season really well, things were great, we could focus on the Champions League. But the board still spent 20 odd million in the last couple of weeks of the window when they probably could have done it for maybe 12 or 15. And again, signing Ida, signing Engels, we still made a profit last year, we'll still make a profit this year. So for them not to take a step up and try and at least move on to that and say, do you know what, every player we're going, obviously you're going to get your 2 and 3 million players that are going to come in. You maybe exploit a market somewhere, of course, but to no move on and say this is going to be the norm. They've let the fans down, and then as I say, repeating myself, but if they're coming out and saying they've done everything they can, then it's an admission that they shouldn't be there, and it's time for people with fresh ideas. And there's still time for these folk to leave and be thanked for what they've done. But if this continues for the next 2 or 3 years, it's statements like this aren't going to appease anybody.
Definitely, I agree with you. To me, it does look like an admission. Well, they'll never admit to it on this board, but I think from the outset you can see it's sort of maybe they see it as their only defence at this point is to blame everybody else, which appears to be the way. Andy, you're back with us. Welcome back from your holiday. A nice quiet week for Celtic, I'm sure you were hoping for, but unfortunately it's not been the case. We've been on 3-4 times since you've been away just because of how much shit's been going on. What was your thoughts on that statement that's come out, and just your general reaction to it?
I know, I didn't know whether to take it personally that he's been on so many times since I went away, but I think a lot of what he's have said I agree with, and I don't want to cover the same ground, but I just find that it's just a bit of a slap in the face to everybody, and I think it just comes across as we know best. Everything you think you know is wrong, everything you've been told is wrong, everything that comes out for anybody else that isn't your trusted sources, i.e. feeding me reports to the Sun, is wrong. I think I can't remember what one of we're talking about it when you've got ex-players like Seacrest coming out and you've got agents talking about how they can't get Nicholson on the phone to get a deal to go through, and just go ahead Eagles chairman laughing at you and how you try and do business. I think they still almost feel as if they're operating in years gone by where there wasn't as easy access for information, it wasn't as easy for these things, these articles to spread and this news to spread and all the rest of it. And I think they forget that it's easy for people to get this information now. And it's just fucking laughable. To me, that statement was we need to get something out. Let's just write any old shite, fire into fucking ChatGPT if you want. And as you say, like, for nobody's name to be attached to that tells you everything. Tells you they don't even think we actually merit a response. One he's already touched on as well, like the groups they met with. Again, we've seen what happens when anybody disagrees with Celtic in a way that they don't like. Access gone, you're not getting in. If you ask a question you don't like, you're not asking it. So realistically, what were they conversations? I very much imagine they didn't include any questions at all, other than do you want a tea or coffee when you sat down? It would have been pretty much that statement getting read out to that group, whoever it might have been at that moment in time. So just that, to me, that's not worth anything. It doesn't mean anything when they say stuff like that. But they'll continually go around on this. They won't take any blame. They won't say, do you know what, we've made an arse of this. And I think Danny's point is pretty much sums it up. One or two things have happened here. You're either no very good at your job, or you're pretty much saying that you're at your depth and we're just going to go and wait anyway because nobody else could do it any better than us. You've like, even when they're talking about, oh, because of rules you can't spend this amount of money, you need to bring in and all this profitability nonsense. We know that shite because straight away they're panicking and hitting the panic button in the final days of the window, trying to throw 10 million at Dolberg to get him in because they've paid that much of an arse yet. We've already all know the private jet was sitting waiting to go and get him. So suddenly you're able to spend another 10 million on top of what you've already spent in the final day of the window. Did something happen that nobody's aware of that we brought in 10 million in sponsorship that day to suddenly make your account fit the bill so we weren't shiting ourselves for UEFA or whatever coming in and doing an audit? No, that's not what's happened there at all. It's stuff like that, just taking fans for mugs and as if you don't understand how it works, you don't understand. And it's constant, and he's bang on. If that really is the case, and if that's why they're not spending the money, then why has the outside of the stadium not been fixed? Why is the main stand still look as if it's fucking for the 20s? Like, why is there no a lick of paint anywhere? Why is that money not being spent elsewhere then? Why are fans still getting rogered left, right and centre? Why the season ticket prices go up year on year? Like, why, if that's the case that you can't spend that in transfers, then what the fuck are you doing with it? So it's just nonsense. Everything they say is just laughable at times. And I think it says everything. It says what you think, but the fact the statement's not been signed. I genuinely wish I was surprised by it, but there's nothing that surprises me about that statement whatsoever. If you were to ask fans to write the statement, it would have probably been exactly what they've put. Nonsense, we know better, we joke about Rangers and we'll all move on. And we've seen that for years. They've done it at AGMs, you've seen all these stupid wee jokes, and fans have lapped it up because, I think for the most part, a lot of fans were happy with that and they were happy with where we were at. But us and other people were always banging that door about we need to move on, we need to progress. Like, particularly when we had a period of total sustained dominance, like, you need to build on that and you need to progress on that. And we've seen the potential, we all know the potential, but fans probably just get comfortable with that, and that's why people were hesitant at times, and that's why, as I say, they were happy when the AGMs, when these wee jokes kicked off, and they were always, no, that was a great board, it's a great run. But now what you're seeing is the outcome of the board operating the way they've operated for so long. And now it was probably going to take however many 8 attempts or 7 attempts at Champions League failure as it was probably going to take that, and it was probably going to take losing to one of the worst teams I've ever seen come to Parkhead and getting papped out after them, and then it was probably going to take again a manager who's been so successful, and then in this year we've got former players who can post quite easily and talk about their experiences, and when that all comes together, it really does sort of unite the fan base to say, well, wait a minute here, we are being taken for a ride. Where is our money gone then? And start asking these questions, and you can quickly see they've not got the answers for it, and you can quickly see, like we've touched on it before, it's all jobs for the boys, it's all you're an ex-player and you come, you play golf with Dermot and you come, you're Law's boy and you come. It's all very much that, and that's no way to run a business. They want to talk about how good they are at operating, they want to be this big business and world renowned. Well, we've said it before, they act like a bowling club, the way they go about it, and that's what it is. That's the statement you would see when a bowling club will fell out, and that all gets sent out to the members' emails. It's nonsense, and they don't want to deal with it head on. They don't want to deal with. I think I seen earlier on it was like 350 new fan media organisation supporters club whatever it might be, over 350 now, and you're going to be into hundreds of thousands of people who've put their name to that wanting answers, and again, just treated with total disdain that they no respect, they don't want to answer it, they don't think they should answer it, they don't think they should answer to the fans, and that's where we're at. But as I said, I wish I was shocked by it, but not even slightly.
No, and I agree. We've obviously spoke about that a lot, plenty to cover, so we'll move straight on. Yo everybody, so it's Dan here. I'm just going to jump in the news. So I've decided to split this episode into two just because there's quite a lot more to discuss. We still have to discuss the hit piece that was put in the Scottish Sun on Brendan Rodgers. We also talk about Dyson Maeda's comments about wanting to leave the club, as well as reacting to the signing of Kelechi Iheanacho. So that episode had just hit the 40-minute mark, so we'll split this one up, and we'll get this one out to you now, and look out in your podcast players or YouTube on Monday in part 2 of this episode about. But thanks very much for everybody who's taking the time to listen. We'll speak to you tomorrow. Hail, hail.